Midlands Wrestling Championships are over, and it was an incredible tournament. So many great matches. Now, I am traveling right now, but I wanted to get this video out talking about the 3 takeaways I have from the Midlands Championships. So let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling. On this show, we talk all about wrestling news, tips, and lifestyle. And although there is not a Fanco Wrestling show this week due to the holidays, I wanted to talk about the Midlands Championships. And as you can see from my backdrop, it's not necessarily the classic Fanco Wrestling background that you're used to. I am at the Chicago airport right now, but I want to talk about the 3 takeaways from Midlands Championships. And before I start, please let me know in the comments below what your favorite match of the tournament was, because it was such a great tournament. Now, the first takeaway that I have from this tournament is starting at 125, and at 125, the biggest takeaway I have here is that Spencer Lee is wrestling the bare minimum. And yes, this is a little bit heavy of an Iowa heavy video because Iowa did dominate the tournament. Now, Lee, he's wrestling the bare minimum, and I think that's due to his Olympic training as well as his not wanting to be injured. We saw that mostly because, you know, he wrestled his first 2 matches, actually first 3 matches, and then ended up medical forfeiting out, taking 6th place. Tying for 6th place is actually what happened. But what happened is he won his first 2 matches by fall, absolutely annihilated. One, I think in under a minute, he pinned his guys, and then his 3rd match he ended up getting a tech fall, made it to day 2, and ended up forfeiting out. So he's wrestling the bare minimum, just getting those bare minimum matches for his RPI in order to qualify for the national championships, and then end up going on to wrestle in the Olympic team trials where he's hoping to make an Olympic team. Now, the second takeaway that I have from Midlands is that 133 is a fight, all right? I mean, if you watched 133 this weekend, you know how great of a tournament, how incredible of matchups there were. The DeSanto versus Gross final held up. I mean, it was the hype match of the night. It was the last match of the night. They held 133 for last, and it really made up for the hype of the entire tournament. And just because you see Gross and DeSanto just pushing their way through this tournament, crushing a lot of their competition. Now, of course, the big semifinals matches is 133. And why I'm saying it's a fight is because we saw already this season DeSanto beat Gross, who was the #1 ranked wrestler, and now it's a flip-flop at Midlands, flip-flop to DeSanto losing to Gross. And yes, it was a battle this time. It came down to the last takedown. We saw DeSanto down by 2 takedowns to Gross. Ended up coming back. Thought he was going to get that. He was pushing the pace, going for that stall call. Got the stall call. Was going for another one in the last minute of the match. Could not quite get it. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Spencer Lee in DeSanto state finals back a couple years ago when DeSanto was down. Just ended up coming back, pushing the pace, winning that match. He didn't win this time. Now, the thing too is you talk about the semifinals. All right, so the DeSanto versus Petrosky match was a solid match, but on the other side, the Rivera versus Gross semifinal, so much controversy there. I know it came down to the last minute. Gross, of course, was down 6-2 on Rivera's couple of takedowns. Seth Gross comes back, lat drops Rivera right on the edge of the mat, sells a toe in, lat drops him to the edge, and ends up coming back 8-6. Rivera's now similar to that Gross and DeSanto final, was just pushing the pace, and Gross ended up kind of holding on to the ankle, ended up getting a stall call, and then kept pushing the pace. Was Rivera. He just couldn't escape that. I was actually surprised that the ref didn't break it up. I know that the Northwestern coaches weren't very happy about that, the fact that Gross was just hanging on to the ankle, and they weren't doing anything about it. Now, that was the second takeaway. The third takeaway that I have from this tournament is Iowa is almost unstoppable. Almost unstoppable. I mean, let's think about this. Although Spencer Lee didn't win his weight because he medical forfeited out, you still had DeSanto making it to the finals. Now the #2 ranked wrestler was the #1, and we could see Gross and DeSanto wrestle more times in the future, depending on where all the other 133s line, because there are a lot of tough guys. I mean, look at Rivera, look at Gonzer of Campbell, who gave Sebastian Rivera a very solid match in the consolations. Now, moving back to Iowa, you also had Max Murin winning at 141. Although he had a heck of a fight with Josh Heil in the 141-pound finals. Max Murin was looking solid. Then you look at Pat Lugo. Lugo, of course, I mean, the fact that Lugo beat Austin O'Connor, who was the #1 ranked wrestler. Austin O'Connor, of course, hasn't been wrestling the last couple of weeks, but the fact that he came back, he beat him, and now he's the #1 ranked guy in the spot for Iowa. I mean, they just have #1, #2s at most of their weights, which blows my mind. Marinelli came out, pinned his way through most of the tournament, bonus his way, and he just looked strong, frankly. Very, very strong. And I'm interested to see how a couple of these matchups are going to be in the future, especially against #1 ranked Vincenzo Joseph at 165. And then talking about Caleb Young. Caleb Young's match versus Marcus Hartman, who was kind of a standout of this tournament, coming in unranked and unseeded in the tournament, making the finals and taking Young to sudden victory. That's going to bump him up in the rankings, absolutely. And it was just, it kind of blew a lot of people's minds. He almost got that takedown. Now, one of the last guys I want to mention is Anthony Cassiope. Cassiope, of course, has made his way onto the college scene this year, and coming from a lower rankings and now just going up and up and up, just looking very, very strong is Anthony Cassiope. And it's going to be interesting to see when Iowa starts taking on a lot of these top teams. Of course, they dominated Midlands, were the #1 team there, and I'm interested to see where this team goes moving forward into the second half of the season, because that's where we are at this point. Now, again, I just want to ask you guys what your favorite match of the tournament was, because one of my favorite matches, I think, was the DeSanto versus Gross match. Another one of my favorites that I watched, of course, being at Midlands, was actually the Gonja versus Sebastian Rivera match. Just shows the depth that there is at 133 and the All-Americans we could be getting at Nationals. Now, until next time, guys, make sure if you are interested in wrestling-related content, you hit subscribe and share, and I'll see you then.